Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. It's time for Versus. Today on the show, Kraven collapses Sony's Spider-Verse. The Lord of the Rings, the War of the Rohirrim is here. And the best thing I can say is love that popcorn bucket. Lots of movie news, including James Gunn's Superman poster reveal. People are now, including Elaine from Nerd Cookies, people are officially excited about a superhero movie. That's crazy. Our usual guests are here on a Monday before the holidays are approaching, folks. Fast approaching. Your comments and questions. So let's get things started. I had something of a weekend. I'll just say that. I had something of a weekend. I'm not even going to get into it. We're just going to start the show. Let's go. Let's go.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can. What?
It's not what I meant to do. I meant to do this. Hey, everyone.
Our producers in the chat. That's why we're
very appropriate.
What's that? Yeah, we don't have atomic. We're atomic lorry-less today, so we will do the best we can. Let me introduce our returning champions. So happy they are here. Script Doctor, who will remain faceless.
Hey, it's the Script Doctor. Happy to be here. In fact, let me do some redecorating in my office. There we go. Here we are. Happy to be here with you guys after having an awesome night on Thursday with the Film Threat crew and some other filmmakers. Here to share with you all of my Hollywood diagnoses and a couple of prescriptions to get you right where you were.
I've reliably been informed that Chris and Paul Chatto, Script Doctor and Paul Chatto shared bunk beds. It sounds like a real fun time there. Welcome. Let's talk about Superman. Can't wait.
Hello, I am Elaine at Nerd Cookies. Glad to be here again and to talk about something I'm excited about, Superman.
What's happening, guys? Dante from Verbal Riot, raid against the Kraven, man.
I'm Alan with Film Thread, and I just noticed that trigger warning at the beginning of the show about cultural insensitivity. So, hello, everybody! Also,
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Did you get Paul Chatto the link?
I did.
Okay.
Did.
All right.
I emailed it to him. Maybe he forgot. It's okay. People, DA is going to be here late at the 1:30. So in 30 minutes. So couple things I want to let you all know that, the award this is coming up. That's right. Here's a little tease of award this for you guys. This is our annual show where we award indie films that are very small. Many of the budgets are under 100 grand. Check this out.
This was a film that we shot on a $30K budget.
We're not going to get Oscars. We're not going to get Independent Spirit Awards. We don't have the huge budgets to get those awards.
While Hollywood continues to churn out sequels and franchise factory films, exciting and original indie movies of all kinds are being released in theaters, on demand, and on streaming, and we're here to celebrate them.
So crazy. Thank you so much.
I'm going to fill this with Mountain Dew.
First they ignore you, and then they laugh at you, and then they fight you, and then you win.
You guys help everyone in this room push the dream a little bit longer.
I think that Film Threat and Award This really are champions, true champions of independent film, which we've seen here.
It almost looks like a professional show, which is crazy to me. Almost, but you can go to awardthis.com or go to any of the social media, go to our link tree. We haven't updated the website yet, mainly because I've been busy. But if you go linktree/awardthis, links to tickets, the nominees, all that stuff. Alan, what can you tell people about Award This?
Award This is just a celebration of true independent films. films that you may not have heard of, and I like to think of these nominees as the shopping list of indie films you need to be watching.
It's like a playlist of like 75, 80 films that you should check out, horror films, sci-fi, thrillers, romantic comedies, dramas, comedies, lots of stuff. So this is our reminder to do that. And other little housekeeping here, go to shop.filmthreat.com for all your Film Threat needs, including the shirt that I am wearing now. That's right. I am wearing a shirt. If you know, you know. This shirt, which says Dick Splash and is in a certain shape, is a reference to Man of Steel, the first the film directed by Zack Snyder, and which a kid on a bus tells Clark Kent, Dick Splash. The most nonsensical comment at all. It was so bizarre. We turned it into a shirt. So it's a very weird movie reference. So only available at the Film Threat shop. So anything. Now, Alan, I understand your daughter got a holiday sweater with your face.
Yes, here it is. I would wear it, but it doesn't fit. But there it is.
Oh.
Yes.
She asked for it too.
Okay.
Of course, I bought it for her.
All right. Well, there you go. Let's get into our topics because we have a lot to discuss. Let's talk box office first, Alan. If you would share that. Let's look at the two big movies that opened this weekend: Kraven the Hunter, War of the Rohirrim are here. How did they do? Well, let's see. Kraven came in third in its debut weekend, beaten by Moana 2 and Wicked. And Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim came in fifth, 4.5 million. Kraven snagged 11 million.
Should also point out that Red One is now streaming on Prime and yet did fairly well at the theaters.
Yes, Red One is hanging in there as like, it is sort of like, first of all, I think it's, I mean, many of us saw it. It's stupid. I still was entertained. So
people like J.K. Simmons too.
Love him. Thoughts on all of this? Your capsule review of Kraven or Rohirrim, if you've seen it. Just what do you guys think of this? And this is 11 million. Wicked did double that, 22 million.
My co-host saw Kraven and Lord of the War for the Rohirrim essentially back to back, one day and then the next, and it broke him. He ranted like I've never seen someone rant. And he sort of happened with Madam Web. He confirmed that Kraven's worse than Madam Web. Bless anyone who's seen these movies.
Well, now it has been announced that this will be the last of these Sony Spider-Verse films. Movies in the Spider-Man universe where Spider-Man isn't in the movie. 3 Venom movies, not one Spider-Man. And in Kraven, there's a veiled reference. He has a fever dream that shows him his greatest fear. And it's a bunch of spiders. That's the best we got.
It reminded me of Arachnophobia, that one scene in Arachnophobia where they're all coming
that's a good
down.
movie.
Right.
Yeah, that was way better than Kraven.
Yeah, so Rob is going to be here any minute. I thought I sent him the link. So you guys, thoughts on all of this? Kraven, Rohirrim, the Spider-Verse not going forward. What do you think?
Nothing on this list is surprising.
Yeah.
At all. Like, this is exactly how I would have predicted it.
Except for Sony's just keeps wanting to double down on failure, the failed ideas. They keep coming out. From the moment this was announced, like, okay, so you want another bomb?
From what I've been hearing, there's been a kind of a big sort of secret infighting between Sony Japan and Sony America. I don't know who's running Sony Studios right now, but I what I don't get is I don't understand why at least at this point, why doesn't Sony just sell the rights of Spider-Man to Disney? Just sell it.
Too much. It's too much. It's still too valuable.
But they're losing money. They're losing money on Spider-Man. They're not making
those rights. Those rights are still too valuable.
Yeah, well, they're losing the potential profit because most of Sony's films, the way their models work, especially with their higher tier characters, they're in the black by the time the movie hits theaters. Like the money's been, it's other people's money that's been spent. They're just trying to net as much from the box office as they can to show a profit. But the execution of these films, especially with Kraven, which I think had an uncredited AI chat GPT writer over the end of it.
No, that was
it's
Tommy
not-
Wiseau.
Yeah, because again, this has already got. I bet you that Kraven was sold for first window streaming release to Netflix for quite a pretty penny, along with Madam Web and Venom. Let There Be The Last Dance. I'm pretty sure Sony got some nice change out of that. The fact of the matter here is, publicly speaking, Kraven is a bigger embarrassment than they were expecting, because I think they were saying 15 to 20 million opening weekend is what they're on the positive side of things, and now this came in 50% under that prediction. This is a damage to the reputation more than anything, to their bank account.
Well, okay, look,
I don't see how this is a surprise to anyone, though.
Yeah, and I understand, like, holding on to an IP, right? But what's the point of holding on to an IP if the IP is not making you any money? Like, I have
video games, other areas, it still makes money and could again very easily. That's why.
Yeah, I guess it has to be the games, man, because the movies aren't really doing anything for them.
Wait, you got to remember though. Sorry to jump in. I'm sorry.
Hey, Rob!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Rob! And fresh off your appearance on FNT, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. You know what? That is a very welcoming audience. A lot of people get mad when I go on that show, but I have never had anything but positive experiences with anything that Gary Buechler has ever done. Has always been positive as far as I'm concerned. And being invited on that show and being welcomed by the audience and the members of that show it's always a joy. And I went on 2 consecutive Friday the 13th, so it could have gone either way. But I wanted to say real quick that, remember, Spider-Man, even the MCU Spider-Man films are distributed by Sony. So Sony gets the majority of the box office. I don't know if anyone mentioned that already. But so when a movie like No Way Home comes out and makes almost $2 billion, Marvel, I think it's 25%. The rest of that money, after, of course, expenses are recouped, goes back to Sony. And the 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies have been incredibly lucrative.
Well, okay, I get that, but why not just live off of that then? Why are they making these shit movies?
Well, one of the reasons is that they have to make one in order to hold on to the Spider-Man license. So they don't need to use Spider-Man, but they can use Spider-Man characters to retain their license that they have got from Marvel that they purchased back in the late 90s, I think.
But wouldn't they retain their license or their rights if Disney is using Tom Holland as Spider-Man?
I would assume so, but it seems like if that were the case, why would they be investing in these non-Spider-Man Spider-Verse movies?
My suggestion is they didn't want to pay an actor. They didn't want to pay an actor to play, because we found out now that they could have, this is what they're saying, use Spider-Man in any of these movies. So my suggestion is they didn't want to first pick a Spider-Man for their universe, and then they didn't want to pay him, and they were dumb enough to think that, or hubris enough to think that just having the villains was enough, and then eventually they do a Sinister Six and pick and pay one. But until then, they could just do a bottom of the barrel, and it would be enough, and it clearly wasn't enough.
Here's a comment no one's making. Why not make a good movie?
There's that.
I was just gonna say that. Like, I get that there's a business corporate aspect to this, but why can't there also be art? Why can't they try?
Because I don't think they're capable of making a good movie.
Yeah, but you can hire people who are capable of making a good movie. That's the thing. There's no reason these movies should be failing. They may not be great blockbuster hits, but there's no reason they shouldn't be good movies.
The thing is, they're not finding filmmakers. They're doing it the exact reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Movies used to be made by people that were passionate about the films that they were making. Even a movie like Back to the Future, if you go back and you look at the production history of that film, it was very iterative, but Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis, it was their idea, their passion. And Sony and all the studios are trying to make IP films in the exact reverse. They're not hiring passionate people.
Mm-hmm.
They're hiring people that might look good on a spreadsheet, but they themselves aren't passionate about the material. And if they're not, and their screenwriters aren't, we get what we've been getting from the Spider-Verse films. And it's so frustrating because you think there's not some filmmaker out there who was passionate about making a Kraven the Hunter movie, whereas J.C. Chandor, he got a great job at the studio, but he wouldn't have necessarily chosen, after making Margin Call at a Most Violent Year and even Triple Frontier. You think he wanted to do that?
No,
he
I
took it
think
because it was a big paycheck, which I understand. But now he's in director jail.
Which unjustifiably too, because I will put to your point on the spreadsheet thing. You had Richard Wank, who did Expendables. You then had Art Markham and Matt Holloway. They were the first guys that wrote the Iron Man, but they were replaced with other writers later on. So from Sony's perspective, they're like, oh, we got 2 writers from Iron Man that blew up the MCU and made it a thing. We got Richard Wank, who knows how to work with Sly Stallone and has a couple of really solid credits under his belt. This should be an instant hit just on that alone. But it didn't take a look at the merits of that work. I mean, I enjoy The Expendables for what it is, but overall, it's really a forgettable film. It's a gimmick. It's not really something of depth and value. And Art Markham and Matt Holloway, they were rewritten and replaced on Iron Man. I'm like, I wouldn't look at some 2 writers that were replaced as a screenwriters on a hit movie. I would look at that like, okay, that's a warning sign. Maybe I want to find someone else to start up this particular area of the franchise.
But on a spreadsheet, it looks good.
But on a spreadsheet, if you're not looking beyond the names and beyond the credits, yeah, it looks great.
You know what, though? To Sony's credit, man, these movies aren't woke, man. They are just naturally bad movies. And wait. And there's something kind of refreshing about that, right? Like they're not woke. They're just bad, like just awfully bad. And almost in a great way, right? Like, here's the thing. I don't hate these movies.
It's progress, but
I've enjoyed Madam Web. I enjoyed Kraven, man. Where else are you going to get lines like, I hunt by hunting, right? like
I'm a hunter. I hunt.
I learned at camp.
It's a camp that we haven't seen since like the days of, the old Batman show back in the day.
My favorite line is, my grandmother died, and I never saw her again.
Yes. Where else are you going to get lines like that? Right?
Now, if she said, my grandfather died and I see her every day, that would have been weird.
Bro, but even if it's an AI script, as someone is saying in the chat, no one, while filming it, no one said, this doesn't sound very natural. No one pointed it out? They just went along with it?
That's the beauty of it, man. No one is steering the ship.
Right. And the amount of ADR in this movie and how easy it was to tell really shocked me. Like, there's a wide shot and no one's heads are moving or mouths are moving and we're hearing their voices and you're like, wait, is this inner monologue stuff or is this going to be a crossfade to an actual conversation? Nope. Close up, medium. Now they're talking. Now we see their lips move. So terrible.
It's reminiscent of the 80s. Yes.
Look, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Tommy Wiseau, big fan of The Room, and for me, it had notes of that.
Like just so bad it was good. Was it so bad it was good? Or
yeah.
It's so bad.
We had a blast. We had a blast watching that movie together.
Yes, we did.
Right.
I saw Alan put together a popcorn bucket right next to me. That's
but I'll say what was funny was we were pretty, like, after a while we got kind of loud making comments.
Dante heard you, like, loved you.
And you know what? Not one person in the theater shushed us.
They didn't care. They didn't care.
They didn't care. They were like, yeah, it is bad.
When we were leaving, we crossed paths with like as 3 other people, like 2 girls and a guy, and they were just big smiles when they saw us as we were leaving the theater because it seems like we entertained them a little bit too. While they were there.
Yeah. It was.
I just don't understand how Marvel. We were saying yesterday on George the Giant Slayer show, people don't. The normal movie-going audience does not delineate. They see the Marvel logo at the front of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just diminishes the entire brand. And I know that really Disney can't do anything about it, but Kevin Feige cannot be happy about this. And I don't understand. I know Sony they've done such a good job with the 2 Into the Spider-Verse movies and with the Tom Holland Spider-Man films. And to a certain extent, Venom has made the money. I mean, even Venom, The Last Dance is going to closing in on $500 million. But these 3 films are like, they all look like they were so interfered with. Like, Morbius is a movie about a living vampire, but all the blood in the movie was toned down to look like it's the color black, so it doesn't look as violent as it would normally look. And you're like, why aren't you making a Blade-like movie? Why aren't you leaning into the fact that Morbius, the living vampire, kills people? Why are you trying to hide what a vampire does from the audience that's expecting to see lots of vampire carnage with an Academy Award-winning actor? It's so strange to me that no one at the top is steering. You know, when I worked at Warner Brothers, I worked in feature production. This is a long time ago. After lunch, every day, the executives that are called covering, that are overseeing, each executive, one of the creative executives, had a movie that they oversaw. And they went to screenings of the dailies of every movie Warner Brothers was making every single day. So they could see the footage that was being made on a daily basis. I am willing to bet you no one does this anymore. They're going to get all their dailies digitally, and they can look at them if they want. I will bet you 99% of these executives at the various studios, but especially at Sony, are not looking at dailies as they're coming in. And if they are looking at dailies, they don't know enough about filmmaking to know if what they're looking at is good or bad. And until the movies are finished, they look at these first cuts, and then you're getting all these people at the top who shouldn't be commenting anyway, but because of their position, they're commenting. And then suddenly the filmmakers are getting all kinds of conflicting notes, and they're trying to make everything work. And you get the ADR mess that you saw in Kraven. Yeah. And I watch this stuff and I'm thinking, this is irresponsible. These are people that do not know how to do their jobs, and they're in charge. And they keep doing this. Shareholders should be in revolt over at Sony. So should Sony, the parent company.
But like Script said, man, they're in the black. So I mean, if you're a shareholder, then I guess
are they though?
I mean,
the thing is, they get to write off. They can write off whatever they're losing. That's the problem. If they need something written off in another part of the company, these kinds of losses can only benefit them in the long run, because corporate America, it's a write-off.
Well, absolutely.
Or
So
write
if
down.
if they do a movie that does gangbusters and profit-wise, they can write off the losses against that, and they'll be fine. The other part too is Sony hasn't invested anything in their streaming services, so they send it all to Netflix, and Netflix will pay through the nose for it, plus their physical media distribution. So they're still recouping money, nowhere near the level that they, of course, want to have, but it's basically enough to keep some people around from losing their jobs, I would imagine, because right now Edward Smith is basically running Sony, and instead of changing course to avoid the iceberg, they've been hitting it time and time again.
One person I know who loved Kraven is Mr. Paul Chato, who's joining us late here. Good to see you, Paul. You were with us at the screening. What are your thoughts?
Well,
I saw your review. It was great. It was great.
Thank you. I rated just below Battleship Potemkin.
The actual
But
battle?
I mean my 8mm movie that I did in the 1960s. It was about 10 and a half minutes.
Does it have a baby cart scene in it?
Yes. Well, we had that going down the road, Don Mills Road, and lots of farting.
Like a rhino.
A rhino.
What?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Paul, that screening, it was bad, but it was fun. We had fun, I think, because we all saw it together. That we saw this train wreck. So
yeah, I think the key was, we went as a group of guys and we just had a rip-roaring good time. And then I remember when the dam broke, when we were fairly, we were sort of giggling to ourselves at the ludicrous lines, and then we just didn't want to offend the three other people in the theater. And then the dam broke, and then we just started howling. And I think it was at the moment where someone said, and what do you do, Kraven? I'm Kraven the Hunter. I hunt. And I just, I think we all lost it.
Oh, God. So
thanks for having me on. No one said
yes,
hello.
thanks for being here. So what are your thoughts on Sony now saying no more of these Spider-Man characters in their own solo movies? Never thought when I was assembling the Aurora model kit of Spider-Man, I know you know what I'm talking about, Rob.
Oh yes.
That had Kraven in it was a Spider-Man model kit from Aurora that Kraven was in it. I never thought I'd see that character get his own movie in a theater. So we kind of maybe we take this stuff for granted, because I grew up at a time when, there'd be a few genre movies a year and that's it. Now it's every week.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on Sony just shutting this all down? We're not going to
I think it's a good idea, man, to be honest with you. But here's the thing. Rule of thumb. The rule of thumb should be, if you're going to make a movie about a very, very obscure comic book character, and believe me, as big as Kraven is to us nerds, no one knows who Kraven is outside of the
Right.
comic book
That's
sphere,
true.
right? So all of them, Morbius, Madam Web, they're all obscure to the modern everyday going audience, right? So the rule of thumb should be, if you're going to make a movie about a very obscure character, it should be pretty focused on the hardcore fans that are going to put the money down to watch it, but also general enough that, hey, if you're a normie, you could still watch the movie, enjoy it, take it in for what it is, and it's a good story and a good movie outside of the lore. But if you're a hardcore fan, you're getting all that plus a good story. Like, that should be the rule of law when you're making a movie like this, right?
And they have an example in Blade
and Guardians of the Galaxy. No one knew who the hell that team was. You know, I used to collect that book back in the 80s, man, back when the original team was you know, when they were led by Starhawk, right? No one knew who the Guardians were. But James Gunn comes along, and all of a sudden, one of the biggest teams or biggest brands in the MCU. Again, in the hands of the right director and someone who's knowledgeable and knows what they're doing, Sony could have had a list of hits right now.
Yeah.
They
To
could have
that
had
point,
hit
by the
after
way,
hit after hit.
James, he didn't have a bunch of executives breathing down it. So I was going to say, it's sort of sad that we're at the point where, why wasn't there a responsible executive interfering with the film to make it better? Because the other hand is like, don't we say leave the filmmaker? This is sort of the Nia DaCosta, the Marvels thing, where Bob was like, well, we should have had more executives. But what about her agency and her freedom of filmmaking? So we just need to have filmmakers that know what they're doing and have a clear vision, good or bad. I mean, Todd Phillips for Joker 2 essentially just ignored everything and did what he did.
But you know what though? But that requires these filmmakers knowing who these characters are. Like, that requires them knowing the books. You know, do your research. Read a few comic books before you make the movie.
Yeah. We've got comments on Kraven, but I want to get everyone's thoughts on before we move on. The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Anyone else see it besides Alan and I?
Yeah, I saw it.
And
well, here's the thing. I was talking about this yesterday. I don't think it's an awful movie, you know, but here's what I don't get. I mean, as many people have pointed out, it's about a character that was not even named in Tolkien's work. And Helm Hammerhand is a great character, you know, and we hear about his story, but they fabricated a story that is one didn't need to be told. It's now they're like looking in the nooks and crannies because they only have the appendices. They only have the rights to the appendices in Lord of the Rings to make things from. That's why they can't use the Silmarillion. You know, they can't use anything but what was in the Lord of the Rings books. And they're trying to create stories that Tolkien himself might have referred to, but the dialogue, the characterizations, and all of that are completely made up. And even though Philippa Boyens was involved, I was watching this story and I'm like, you know, the Lord of the Rings stories are about the end of the world. They're about the approaching in Tolkien's world, the approaching world that he didn't want to see. He didn't want to see his beloved England torn asunder by industrialization. And metaphorically, they're about the end of an era and the beginning of another era that's not necessarily beneficial. That's what all of this represented. And so you have that sort of apocalyptic feel to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And The Hobbit was the story about one man. It refers to all young men who go off, they leave their house for the first time, and they go out into the world. It can be seen as metaphoric to that, which is a story that all men themselves, all boys and girls to a certain extent, everybody really has to go out into the world and see what it's all about. That's why The Hobbit works. And then when you get to Lord of the Rings, it's all about how what you find out there could come back and kick your ass. But that's what life is. Now, when you're watching these stories, War of the Rohirrim was fine as it was, but it was completely needless. It doesn't have the driving idea of the world coming to an end. And even though they tried to give it that with this battle, it's like, who cares? At the end of the day, when you've already seen Lord of the Rings, you've already seen a story about these people banding together to stop the end of the world. Every other story seems,
I think the problem with it was that people read about Helm Hammerhand and thought it was about self-pleasuring. And they were disappointed when it wasn't. I think that was its major failure.
Axel Braun is taking notes right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
you know what, Rob, you make a good point, though, because I think what happens is people don't have a fundamental idea of why some of these franchises were beloved and were popular. They don't understand the themes that resonated with people, other than the spectacle. They see the spectacle and they see that, but it's like what's really at the heart of the Lord of the Rings and its success. And it's like you said, the fact of what it is that people are up against and what they're battling in this story. That's really why people became fans of this franchise and why it's become so big, because there's spectacle everywhere. But there's only certain stories and properties that have been able to kind of tap in to something that hits us deeper. And they don't understand that. A lot of folks want to adapt, but they don't understand why. Why do we connect to these franchises and these giant IPs the way that we do? Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all of them, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek. It's like they don't get it. And they don't take the time to understand. They just want to hurry up and rush something out because they want to make sure that they keep the property under their, I think that was the reason why this film was fast-tracked, is to keep the property. That's crazy, man. Like, make a good story if you're going to do that.
I think Robert's right. I think maybe we're coming to the conclusion that the Jackson trilogy will never be topped.
Yep.
Well, it was also driven by art too. I mean, there's also that. Like, where's the art in our current day media? Where is
it's disconcerting that this is Philippa Boyens and then like Fran
Yeah.
Walsh and Peter. And what are they going to do with the hunt for Gollum? Is it gonna, I would dumbly thought that this was going to be their answer
As
to
far
Rings
as Peter
of Power.
Jackson, I think they only.
Good.
Go ahead, Lane.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I may be behind. My internet's,
No, it's okay. Go
coming out. But as far as Peter Jackson, I think they just tacked him on as executive producer right when marketing was getting ramped up, but he wasn't attached from the beginning. But is that true though, that they just rushed this out to retain the film rights? Because I saw something about Discussing Film mentioned that Warner Brothers had issued a statement.
I was just gonna say, I always thought this was gonna be their answer to Rings of Power. They know how much it did brand damage, and they're gonna just try and do something good. But if it was rushed out,
I mean, they do have Andy Serkis. When I was working on the behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings, I did a piece on the editorial of Two Towers, and Mike Horton, the editor, talks about the fact when they had cut together the original Battle of Helm's Deep, they thought it was the greatest battle sequence ever. But when they started to watch it, they realized you got bored halfway into this spectacle of a battle. And they realized why you got bored was there's no point of view. So what they started to do was they wove in all of our characters. They wove in Legolas. They wove in Aragorn. They wove in Theoden. So you were always going back to the characters that we care about in the midst of this spectacle. And once you had those characters and you were seeing what each one of those individual characters was doing, well, then the battle became, as they called it, tasty. Well, they called it a tasty battle sequence at first. And that lesson of one sequence in one gigantic spectacle of a movie is the lesson I don't think people learned. Look, we've seen it all. You can watch a bomb being dropped on a battleship in Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor, a point of view shot. We'd never seen that before. That was spectacle. Now it was old hat. Once it's done once. But you see a character that makes you believe. You see an actor with a little bit of water, a tear about to fall down someone's cheek. You're with that character. It doesn't matter what's going on. And I think that's forgotten. Again, people are saying, okay, this movie needs to have this stuff in it in order for the audience to love it. What a story needs is great characters and a good story. It doesn't matter how much spectacle you have.
I will say that in spoiler alert, in Godzilla -1, when the love interest woman pushed the main character into the alleyway to protect him from the giant blast, and she got taken away, I was ready to lose it.
Same.
Yeah.
Like,
Same.
holy,
That was so emotional.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm verklimping right now.
In a Godzilla movie.
Cry.
Yeah.
They can make you believe with a giant lizard. It takes a deft hand, but you can make people believe and even be emotionally invested in a Godzilla movie if you know what you're doing.
Well, we wanted those two characters to come together. And, I'm still debating in my mind whether she should have survived, but that's a different discussion.
She should have.
But
people like happy endings. I'll just say that.
Speaking of coming together, before we get to your comments here, I have a treat for everyone that Rob Burnett shared with me. This is Robert Meyer Burnett as Biggs in Axel Braun's Star Wars XXX parody. There's a story behind this. It's very screen accurate. Mustache. Rob,
did you show your hydro spanner on camera?
No, I don't have a porn. I don't have. I'm sorry to say, a cock for porn.
Oh,
you know? I don't. It works. It still works very, very well. I can still wield it, but it's not a broadsword. It's more like
Rob is a cocksman. Let's just.
By the way, is this before you invented the My Pillow? Or
oh my God! No, I have to say though, it was my friend Eli Cross, the director, invited me down to come to set, and they had built a Millennium Falcon cockpit. I was in the Rebel briefing room.
He said cockpit.
I know, right? and they also built a cockpit of the X-wing of an X-wing fighter. So I got to be in the Battle of the Death Star in the movie, and Kylie Ireland was Red Leader. And it was, to me, look, you haven't lived until you've seen all the stormtroopers are female. And there's a scene where they have a threesome with Chewbacca.
You ever seen the inside of a cockpit, Bobby?
Yeah. Let me tell you, I had a blast doing this. And it's funny because people used to tell me like 5 or 6 years ago that I shouldn't admit that I was in this. And I'm like, nowadays, I don't think it matters. And they built like Kylie Ireland's boyfriend. They both worked in production design. They built a land speeder. It was amazing being on the set. And I have lines of dialogue.
There was production value with this stuff.
Oh yeah,
this makes you so much cooler, Robert.
Oh yeah, it was. And if you look it up, I'm even in the trailer.
Oh my God.
There we go.
Oh God.
Awesome.
Well, I had to share that because Rob sent that to me. I think it's great. I love it. Let's go to
the
your
very
chat.
first movie that Jim Carrey ever did was a semi-porn movie.
And so did Sly Stallone back in the day. And did Coppola direct one? Like, it's like, come on, folks.
It was a different time.
Here we go.
Who did it? The scriptwriter who will remain nameless. The porn guy. What he did was shoot the live scenes and then cut to stock footage from all over the world. So it made it look like Vienna. Now they're in Paris.
Right.
Now they're in Istanbul. And he felt that made it very exotic.
That's too much thought for porn, man. Like, I'm sorry. It's
But in those days, they thought it was art. Today, it's just, video. They can.
I mean, was there a script too?
Yeah, but we could all guess the ending.
Let's get to supers here, Badger. We'll go through these.
The first one, though, you put Jeremiah. He was saying that, the Superman trailer comes out on Thursday.
I want to do that one last.
Yeah.
I want to do that one.
Shout out. Latino Slant for 199. Hello, go weed. Chicken Wing for 199. Well, you guys did it. Now I'm manic. Hail all. No, Charlie Ragsdale for 199. Support independent film. Yes.
No.
Jimmy Francis for 20. Just a thank you to Film Threat for organizing award this.
And you're all invited.
Saint Nick Gore, $2. I'm here for cultural sensitivity. Thank you. Looking for a group. Let's fucking go. Shanovsky for 199. Better film name Kraven Moorhead for the execs. Yes, Kraven Moorhead.
I called it Kramer this morning by mistake, which I thought would be way funnier. Getting Kramer,
Kramer the Hunter. Alejandro Montoya Marin for 199.
Hey.
Best good bad movie. Madam or Kraven? Cheers, gents.
That's hard, man. That's a hard one.
Madam Web is the better bad entertaining, at least.
I was told Kraven was worse.
Yeah,
I've already.
Madam Web has better and less AI written dialogue.
Yeah.
Madam Web has cleavage.
Yes, not much,
So that's
but
That's the correct answer.
Well,
so
Kraven
did
also
Kraven.
has cleavage. I mean,
and man spreading.
Yeah.
a lot of man spreading in Kraven.
Yeah.
Tristan Jones for 5. Hail. Hope y'all are good. Off-topic question. What do you guys see Lucasfilm looking like in the next 5 to 10 years? Not holding out hope.
I see them scaling everything back. No TV shows or movies, probably putting out novels, and that's it. I really think they're going to be, you can't keep losing money at that rate.
Might be a bit more
Spiraling
video
into
game investment.
stagnation.
Yeah. It's stagnating now, but yeah.
Rudy for 2 award this points at crotch. Merry Christmas. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Joker Jack, Fatak, member for 1 month. I am tired of all these villain movies. I want to see the heroes beat the villains. Yes.
Here we go.
Tradition.
Amen.
And to that end, Jeremiah here pointing out that, yes, member for 8 months, Thursday at 6 a.m. PST, I believe, is when we get the Superman trailer by James Gunn.
And Alan and I will be up. It's probably 5:30.
Yeah, I guess I gotta get in the calendar.
You really think they're not going to drop it at night?
We're gonna, and it's gonna be 6 a.m. Pacific time. We're gonna do a live reaction, so it'll be Alan and I. I'm sure you guys all be asleep. We'll be up doing it. We'll be on. It'll be fun. We'll get to experience it together and comment. So that's if you go to Film Threat YouTube channel, we already set it up. So
it's at 5:30 in the morning. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Dear Lord. I mean,
one last
good
one.
that we missed the Golden Globe nominations this year.
Double McShave for 20. Rob is the inspiration for Manny Bothans as well.
That was made canon in the Tag and Bink comics that Dark Horse published that Marvel re-released, where the idea was when Mon Mothma says in Return of the Jedi, many Bothans died to bring us this information. People thought that the Bothans were a race of aliens, but it turns out that was really her lover, Manuel Bothans.
That's beautiful.
And Manny Bothans, and that's why she was so sad when she said it. And it's in the Tag and Bink comics, and there's even me drawn as a character. And if you go up to Wikipedia, you can look up Manuel Bothans, and there's a little entry.
You're like the Zelig of all these. No one knows what Zelig is.
What a way to steal his valor.
Mothma's pool boy.
All these dead Bothans that died for the sacrifice of the Death Star plans, and now you
see what happened to Manny. What he did. Poor Manuel.
Justice for Manuel. Happy birthday.
And Thomas Pickett for 2. The effects on Star Wars XXX aren't bad.
No,
you watched it.
There you go. Thank you very much for that. All right.
Since you can see a non-porn version of it, by the way. There is a version of Star Wars XXX that had all the sex cut out of it.
Then what's the point?
Yeah.
Well, it works as a Star Wars parody.
Better costumes in the sequel trilogy, probably.
All right. Since it was brought up by the chat, it's time to discuss some good news here. The poster reveal, which I said, wow, I really like this. The tagline, look up, feels hopeful. Perhaps the age of dark and dystopian storytelling is on the wane. Love the positivity. I'm super excited. I'm all in. Here is the poster for Superman. It's
the music
short video. I can turn on. Give me a sec here.
My question is, why is there only one head in this poster?
There should be like 9 characters, probably more than 9 here, but I'll share the music for a sec here.
And if you're to believe everything we've heard, it's supposed to be a world that has heroes that they kill, and it's a little dark. And this is Superman who he doesn't. He's the only hero that doesn't kill.
Yeah.
What they do? Hire Enya?
No, that's John Murphy.
Hans Zimmery, but John Williams.
Yeah, very Hans Zimmery.
It doesn't have enough warmth to it for Hans Zimmer.
She's humming the John Williams Superman theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I got chills. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
This is one of the, when we were for like well, a lot of us are older. What can I say? When Superman came out, that was a revelation. It was Star Wars the very next summer, Superman. I mean, Rob, you were involved in that documentary. Was it 1982? Like,
You Will Believe a Man Can Fly.
these movies that came out then, because genre stuff was kind of like, oh, that's dumb stuff for kids. It's, monster movies from the 50s and 60s, not to be taken seriously. When Star Wars came out, genre stuff taken seriously. 2001 proved it could be done. And these series of movies, blockbuster, Jaws, Star Wars, 1978 Superman,
Exorcist,
keep going. Like, there's a believability. It's the word that you point out all the time, Rob, verisimilitude.
which I got from, I didn't know what that word meant, but the first time I saw it was on, back in the day, seeing Richard Donner with that word. And he had a Superman thing on I think the door to his office when he was making that movie. And it said Superman and it said verisimilitude. And I was like, what does that mean? And it stuck with me ever since.
And that's when, so it harkens back to that time where, like, oh my God, I never in my mind's eye, as like a 7-year-old who read comics, like, I'm never going to see or feel a story as good as the comic book I just read. And this movie, the original Superman, proved it was possible.
Do you remember, Chris, how the movie opens?
Yes.
It opens with a little boy talking about the great metropolitan newspaper, and the curtains slide back and you hear the beginnings of the music, and you see the Daily Planet in black and white. And then the camera pushes past and goes into space, and then you hear the dun 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 dun. And when those credits came on, I saw that movie in a gigantic theater. Even Bryan Singer talks about this in the beginning of the documentary we did on Making of Superman Returns. It was insane. I was 11 years old, and you'd never seen credits in a movie this way. And it was the credits were transportive. And then you land on Krypton, and it's like, talk about serious and verisimilitude. You're seeing a Krypton the way you'd never seen it before. Guilty. I mean, that was insane.
That and Batman are the only openings I don't fast forward to get to the film.
What's weird is Star Wars and Superman kind of like set the gold standard for make a great title sequence. You can set tone with titles. And then Star Trek, the motion picture, came out in 79. And I was so disappointed. Just pop on and off credits,
They didn't have time, but they did have an overture.
They did have an overture. I love that.
Romantic Elias theme.
Thoughts on
there's another issue going on here, is that if you talk about technology, let's just deal with technology. There's the people who jump the gun before all the technology is mature enough to be able to accomplish what it is that they've been trying to accomplish. Then there's that inflection point where suddenly things have come together enough that they can make things work the way they envision. And then we move on to saturation. So Star Trek, Star Wars, even Star Trek, Superman, people have been trying to do this for decades. These not Star Wars, but I mean Superman, they've been doing Batman, things like that. And the Donner Superman was just at the inflection point where you will believe that a man can fly. It couldn't have been done 5 years earlier. So, and the good part of that is that Lucas struggled with the technology available to do Star Wars and advanced, and it was at the right point.
They had to make it up.
All the things that he did, and had enough technology available to him to do it, but it was a struggle. This movie was a struggle to stay at the very edge of believability. That's also what made it work. Now, one of the things that, and you know where I'm going, the problem now is it's too fucking easy. That's part of the problem. That's people are relying too much on the technology to fix the shit that they're doing. When these guys were struggling with the technology, which is precisely why the movie worked.
Well, I'm a huge fan of movie posters. The Film Threat Instagram is just a feed of indie movie obscure posters, some good design, some not so good. I really love this. It sets the tone. It feels like Kingdom Come. It's I really like it. Comments from you guys on
just real quick, because you said it, Kingdom Come. That is the basic idea, is that they're doing Kingdom Come, but in reverse.
Yeah.
And
Come
the fact that they've chosen that emblem, and you're already coming into a jaded world that's completely fine with the heroes killing and all that, and that based on some real life events, this might be the perfect time for that take, by the way. And to have Superman come up and be like, hey, maybe we should calm down and be a little bit more hopeful and American in our
Extend
justice.
due diligence and jurisprudence.
Yeah,
to bad
exactly.
guys, you know?
Script. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
I
the
think they're gonna lean-
tagline.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. They're going to lean into the fantasy of it all. I mean, the one thing James Gunn, I think, understands is what differentiated DC from Marvel, especially in the 70s and the 80s. There was a fantastical, Marvel brought everything down to earth, and the everyman, and even the X-Men were outcasts. And when you read things like God Loves, Man Kills, that X-Men graphic novel, that was some serious stuff. Whereas the DC universe was sort of that Tomorrowland future that we never got. Kind of a cross between the 1940s film noir mixed with super science of Disney's Tomorrowland. And I think James Gunn is going to lean into that. So we're going to see a much more fantastical, which means it's going to have a sort of mythical quality that's inherently optimistic simply because the way the world is presented, as opposed to, say, the relentless operatic Wagnerian darkness of Zack Snyder's.
He's calling
approach.
it gods and monsters, so you're probably right.
Yeah.
The mythology
Yeah,
part.
fantastic.
He is. And the
This,
other part
this
too-
poster totally sticks the landing for me. I mean, it is absolutely magnificent, and it brings out everything this film needs to be, which is hope. It has to have that theme running all the way through it. And this trailer that's coming up better also have hope running through that, because this whole universe, it relies on this film doing well. I mean, doing amazing. If it doesn't get off to the right start, this thing is probably over before it starts, because
Totally
people
agree.
are kind of getting jaded on the superhero film. Look at the superhero films we've gotten this year.
Creature
People are
Commandos did not help.
And
with a lot
but
of
you
the
know what?
things in it.
I don't think people are watching Creature Commandos. They're waiting
Correct.
on to see what we do here with this
Yeah.
movie. This movie is the one that's going to set the tone for the DCU. And like I
Also,
said,
we're-
if you look at, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Also, we're conflating James Gunn, the creative, versus James Gunn, the executive.
Yeah, you
Creature
shouldn't be
Commando is
doing
not
that.
exactly a James Gunn series.
Yeah, so like one thing, Creature Commando.
Which one? Creature
despite
Commandos
your
was written by
criticisms
him. It's
of them,
absolutely a James Gunn series.
But despite what you think about that, Badger, is the fact they're laying a lot of foundation. They've already introduced Sergeant Rock and the Metal Men as part of the canon of this universe. And they're also creating this elaborate mythology about it, saying that, yes, people are accustomed to magic and mysterious things happening in this world at this point when Superman makes his debut. That's some pretty interesting foundation, because they're not letting it be Superman as the breaking point, the watershed moment of the introduction of superheroes. They're establishing this great history of it here. And I think it kind of goes into what I suspect is going to be the commentary that James Gunn has been doing with his DC films since the Suicide Squad, which is the Suicide Squad is a commentary on the previous administration's at Warner Brothers take on superhero films. It's mocking it outright. Same thing with the Peacemaker as well. It's basically saying, yeah, all the bad guys, they're the ones that are going to be lewd and crude and cursing and killing indiscriminately. And it's going to be done in such a pathetic way from their point of view that, of course, you understand why they got arrested, why they've been implanted with bombs by Amanda Waller and are being these agents, to work for the government. Now we have this new Superman poster with its tagline of "Look Up," trying to be hopeful. It looks like that's going to be the contrast. Like this is going to be the answer to those mistakes, to that sect of this world of DC Universe, and say, this is the direction that we should be going, that we should be aspiring to, because that's what Superman is, the aspirational character, the character that he's looking up as we are looking up, as opposed to him being up and looking down on us and then maybe coming down to our level. I want that to be the reverse. I hope that's what James Gunn is planning to do with this. And I think he's got the fortitude to actually go through with that, because have you guys seen the new DC opening logo thing? It's Superman unchaining himself, and then it goes into the DC shield. I mean, that sounds to me like he's saying we're not going to be chaining Superman with conventional baggage, but conventional weight. We're going to bust him open and actually explore him for what he is as a character.
I think another thing, Script, I think it was very well said. We're at a zeitgeist moment in our culture. The re-election of Donald Trump was a referendum. And I think this film, in terms of being on the tail end of comic book superheroes, if this film, there's more writing on this movie than any other IP property film, I think, maybe ever. as far as the impacting one studio, but it's also coming out at a time when our world is so fractured right now, internationally, personally, professionally. And if this film sticks its landing, and I suspect it will, this could really be, as Paul said, an inflection point in culture. It might be something that people. I don't think it's too hard to, or it's a stretch to say that this film might be. It might be a way to bring our fractured society together, because what are movies? And it is a collective. It doesn't matter who walks into a theater and sits next to you when you watch a movie. You're all taken up by the story that you're watching. A great film is transported for audiences, no matter what their shape, size, color, creed, sexuality, political affiliation. When you're in a theater, everybody is equal. And this movie could do that, dare I say, for the world. I hope. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit.
You got close to this movie could save lives from the Eternals, but I do agree with you. It's a good sign of a hopeful patriot. He better say for truth, justice, and the American way. That's the Superman I want.
You know what? I don't even mind a better tomorrow for the most part. I mean, it is what it is. I think I trust. At the end of the day, I trust James Gunn. I always have. I feel like even at his worst, he's still better than most. Mm-hmm. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this movie. I don't have as high as hopes as you have, Rob, but I do have high hopes that it will do well as a film, just because James Gunn knows his stuff. He cares about this universe. He cares about these characters. We saw it over and over that he knows how to do a superhero film. I will say this, though, and not to bring it negative, but this is make or break for Warner Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
They have to get this right. Like they have to. Like their whole studio depends on this movie.
This and the casting of Harry, Ron, and Hermione over there with that show. Those two things are going to be real telling for the future.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think Superman's even going to affect that, right? I'm telling you right now. I think if this movie does not do well, it's Warner Brothers is in trouble. They're in big trouble as a studio.
Yeah, let's take a look at. I don't know if you saw. There's a Twitter thread that I found of all the Superman leaks. It's basically pictures. I'm warning people in case they want to dip out. There's no big spoilers here in this, but we can go through this if you guys have any further comments.
We've already talked about the McFarlane figures that got released, and Kaiju is in there.
Yeah. The other thing we're not talking about either, though, is this guy has to nail this part. Like he has to be Clark Kent and Superman. Like he has to and that's again a lot of pressure for this poor kid who's playing Superman, but he has to be that guy.
They did a lot of they don't do the kind of screen testing usually anymore that they did for this film. The chemistry tests, they did this for months. They cast this movie for months. And I think that he has that's why I'm excited about it, because you don't hear about these kind of chemistry tests. Months they had actors coming in, and they were pairing up actors to see who did the best job. I think that these two actors right here, I mean, I love Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I think we're going to get something we haven't seen in a very long time with this.
They were fan casted too. They had a large element of fans asking for both of them specifically.
Now, what role was Rachel Zegler playing again?
Yeah, with the way movies are underperforming in the theaters, suddenly, we did talk a long time ago that Gunn is also going to be Marvel's savior. And now he has to be everybody's. Now this movie has to be the entire cinema business's savior.
Well, what's funny is he could have been Marvel's savior. He could have been the MCU savior. If they had put it all on Gunn after Phase 3, we would have a completely different MCU right now.
No, but my point is that his DC job is to also save Marvel.
Oh, sure. It's basically give them a run for their money so that they get a year. Exactly.
Because you got Fantastic Four coming around the corner.
Which I think is going to share some creative DNA with this in terms of its
That's a great picture.
Vision of the future kind of a thing.
People were unimpressed by this.
Yeah.
The people on the roof reading comic books together
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Fan picture.
roll over
That's an
Yeah,
acknowledgement that they're nerds. That is a great. That is great promo.
No, Paul, you're wrong. She should have
That they
come out and
appreciate
talked about how
source
creepy
material.
it was, and that Clark Kent was a sexist and a misogynist. and
Or
it's-
even
yeah.
better, they should
No.
be holding
That's Rachel
hands.
Zegler.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They
And
should
shouldn't you be wearing
holding-
gloves holding onto
weeping.
those issues?
They need to be weeping together.
Yeah.
And one of them has to have a septum ring.
I know a lot of people say it's a red flag he has so many side characters, and I agree, but he's reiterated that the movie is primarily Clark and Lois and Lex as the three, and that these are all just it's called world building, guys, is the way he said it basically, but that he's setting it up for the Lantern show and all that, but they do not detract from Superman.
I will say this though, I'm not loving their costumes.
No, it's not.
Well,
I'm not.
you have to see a lot of things. Having been on film sets, and Rob, you can confirm
Yeah.
you were on the even Axel Braun's film set.
Those
Not
costumes,
everything-
his superhero parody films are pretty good.
No, but I'm saying some stuff looks really cheap. It's about how it's photographed.
Yes.
The sound design even helps with costumes.
The costumes are
bringing
weird.
believability. I'm just surprised we got a white Jimmy Olsen
He'll
with
be gay.
red hair and freckles.
Right? Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. That is
That's
wild.
impressive.
Wild.
And
What
another
is-
thing that people don't understand
He's
is
supposed to be black.
Yeah.
all of this stuff, all of this has been screen tested to the gills. They
I
know.
love
I mean, to
this.
me, this is it right here. This image right here says it
I
all.
love this.
If
man.
we get that tone throughout an entire movie, come on.
Yeah.
It'll give you that feeling you had as a kid reading comic books in a hot summer. I remember riding my bike to the drugstore, a spinner rack, grabbing all the comics I could afford at the time. I'd see that logo still only 35 cents.
Oh,
they're gonna
God,
raise
remember
the
those
price
days?
again. They're gonna
Yeah.
raise the price, but you could buy for a couple bucks a bunch of comics, and you read them over and over. I want to feel that again. I want that passion for the characters. So
By the way, just to point out, everyone like, oh, they cast a redhead. Okay, but Perry White is still black, and they've got Otis is black, and Jimmy will be, I was not joking. He's going to be gay in the film. So there's a tax to be paid.
No.
But yes, they got a redhead.
Olsen
Wait.
is going to be gay.
I could be wrong, but the last thing I heard was that, yeah, he's going to be.
So here's
but
my
not that it
sad
matters.
story. I
what
got
does it
paid-
matter? I don't
Yeah.
need to know the sexuality of every character. It's irrelevant.
I got 25.
And it's not
cents
like
a
Jimmy
month,
was banging a bunch of chicks in the comics anyway. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, he was not a ladies' man. Kind of a
plus,
dork.
you know, Jimmy wasn't a cocksman. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, only
I
that
you know,
CW,
25
Jimmy.
cents a month of allowance, and I spent 12 cents on a comic each month, and then I sat amongst the comics at Claire's cigar store, hoping that the guy wouldn't see me reading through as many comics as I possibly could.
By the way, this is happening today, or it
Yeah.
already happened.
Yeah,
They showed they had and the fact that the studio they're flying in international press to show this 7 months out. They know something we don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you know
there will
what?
be- that you're going to see this. The stories will hit Thursday morning. Once that trailer hits the internet, all those stories will come out at the same time. This Thursday, all anyone's going to talk about is this
Yep.
trailer.
My only problem with this though is why? Okay, I get you want to have the press there, but why not have YouTubers there? They should have invited YouTubers to come.
I agree.
Well,
Because we're the
for all we know,
worst.
for all we know, for all we know, they do, just not any of us.
Right.
You know.
Right.
That's fair.
So there you go. That's the thread. A lot of good stuff here. So kind of summing up, and I'll say this: the way it's being sold, kind of like it. And James Gunn, he was not really too loud about politics. But, after he was so-called canceled, he came back, like he's been kind of quiet, sort of not really harping on that stuff. So I don't know. That's a good thing. I like the way it's being promoted so far. So
I hope what Script Doctor said comes true, that take is accurate. My co-host would say that the canceling you just referenced, James Gunn has never forgiven our side for, and we gonna pay for it with messaging, but we'll see. I really hope he just delivers a great Superman movie, because as Dante said, if this fails, it's all over.
yeah.
Yeah, his whole universe, everything that they've planned is done.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're just everything. I went through that whole thread. So not much has been released, and if we know anything about Gunn, he's good at keeping secrets. If you look at the trailers for his, hey, there you go, Paul. Love that coffee mug. You'll see. Like I remember seeing Guardians 3, and you get about halfway in the movie, and everything that was in the trailer is from the first half, nothing from the third act.
Right.
He's really good about keeping things. Nolan is like that too. So I like directors who are a little, not quite micromanaging, but it's like, here's the footage I'll allow you to use. I'm going to keep secrets for people when they see the movie.
Yeah, and that's different from a executive who will jump in and go, "Oh, we need to see more. We need to see more. We need to see more." And then suddenly the entire movie is in the trailer. But that all comes from executives.
The difference is he is the executive.
Yeah,
so
correct.
what are our thoughts in anticipation?
Well, I do know that we have talked about this longer than we talked about Kraven. So.
Right. We don't really care.
We talked about a poster longer than we've talked about the movie Kraven.
Show him flying, show him walking for 1 second, and show him saving someone, and it's all you really need. The problem is all the trailers have been great. Superman Returns is one of the greatest teaser trailers ever, and people dislike that movie because he doesn't.
I love that
movie.
movie.
The trailer, I love it too, but I always get attacked for talking.
I
The
love
point is,
Superman. Period. I'm good with the character, so as long as he gives me what I'm expecting, which is a little bit of hope, and he doesn't have to go overboard. He just has to give us just a little tease. James Gunn, in my opinion, hasn't missed badly on anything that he's made. I can't think of one project that he has just absolutely shit the bed. So I'm expecting this to be, good to great. I think it needs to be better than great in order to get this universe off on the right start. It has to be better than great. But I'm expecting the trailer itself to be, pretty good. That's what I'm expecting and hoping for.
The trailer has to. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I love the tagline when it said "look up," and I really felt that was kind of a meta almost, and that's what I feel so dejected whenever I see a new announcement for a superhero movie these days. It's so sad, and so I love this tone of not just like Superman being who he should be, this mythic classical hero, but I also feel like just where the genre itself is in such a sorry state right now that I feel like it's kind of speaking to those dejected fans that just want to see a good superhero movie. And I think Superman is arriving at the perfect time. And I think audiences are there's no such thing as superhero fatigue. I think audiences are super primed. We've spent all this time talking about the poster. We are so excited about what this could mean for it, and if we get a good Superman movie. So it's nice to feel hope once again, and I hope I'm I'm excited.
Is there?
I think that this trailer is going to show us the world that this takes place in, and the same way we reacted to that one image of Krypto and Superman looking out over Earth. Imagine, if you will, 2.5 minutes of imagery that's going to put that kind of a smile on your face. And if it does that, it's so diametrically opposed to what, say, Zack Snyder was doing. And look, as a DC fan from the time I was a little kid, I loved Zack Snyder's Wagnerian approach, that operatic approach, Ring of the Nibelung cycle, that you used to see painted on vans in the 70s. I liked that approach to Superman. I did. And it was different from the Reeves approach. But what we've never got is that approach to Superman. And if we can see that, unless you go back to the Fleischer cartoons or even the Adventures of Superman 50s TV series with George Reeves as Superman, there was a little bit of that there. But it's got to be Norman Rockwell mixed with Max Fleischer, mixed with The Christmas Story. It's got to be that kind of thing.
It's not grounded, gritty, and realistic. That could stay over in the Matt Reeves verse. This has to be, like you said, fantastical.
Yeah, it's got to have that joy that's not just in Superman, but the world itself, even though there's villains, but it can't be, we still have to believe.
By the way, his Batman, too, that is on his fourth Robin now, like, his cave needs to have a giant penny and a giant T-Rex. Like, it needs to be that version of Batman.
It needs to be a fantastic. I like the Bronze Age Batman a lot because that's a mix of, like, James Bond with the supernatural and pulp stories of Batman. The fact of the matter is that for nearly 35 years, we've had this doubling down on dark, gritty realism approach to superheroes and nothing that actually made the superheroes popular in the first place was part of being dark and dirty and gritty. It was all the imagination, the potential, the fantastical, the cleverness, the battle of wits. Oh my God. When's the last time we've had a great movie that was predicated on the battle of wits and not just who can break someone's neck the first?
Verisimilitude doesn't just mean grounded, gritty, and real. It just means believable. We need a believable Batman in that world that can stand in the Justice League, but also be alone in a Gotham. Sure, let Gotham be gritty.
Yeah.
We may actually get Mr. Mixelplex. Who
Is it Mixelplex or Mixelplex?
Who should
I would
play
kill it.
Mr. Mixelplex?
Rachel Zegler.
Weird.
James Gunn would be the guy to pull that off, though.
I'm telling you, you could do Mr. Mixelplex, and I could see this in this universe.
How about just finally getting a Brainiac in a Superman movie, man? Like a real legitimate Brainiac.
Makes his piddle lick. You got to make him say it backwards, or he'll keep torturing us.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think
one of the challenges that they're going to have is one of the ironies that I was talking about with the special effects and being able to do it easily. We've also seen a litany of DC and Marvel product that were undercooked from a CGI perspective also.
Yeah.
So one of the challenges with this movie is that they're going to also have to get the CGI right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, by all accounts,
like a lot of those
enough
movies,
time.
Yeah, like they're going to spare no expense on this one. They got to get it right. So the budget is high for a reason. I think some of these other movies, especially in the Sony universe, have come in, barely over 100 million, if that. So I think they're going to, make sure that this thing looks the part. I have nothing but trust that James Gunn's going to get at least that much right.
And you also have to look at it like this too, man. The reason why this is so important is the two following movies after this movie is Supergirl and Clayface. So they
baffling decision to do.
It's
Clayface
really
as a
weird
movie
decision.
first.
Like I don't understand. Look, I trust Gunn. I trust him 100%. I don't understand where his mind is going with this, but this is why Superman has to be good.
Yeah.
I really question why Clayface was the third choice.
He said he's literally doing what we all made fun of Snyder and WB. He's doing everything at once instead of just doing one Superman movie. And he set himself up for the hardest difficulty level in this video game. That being said, he might have the ability to do it. But
breaking news. Here we go. Peter Dinklage is rumored as Mr. Mixelplex.
He'll never do it.
In James Gunn's Superman.
He'll never do it. Come on.
I'm starting the rumor.
I thought he'd be Dr. Psycho and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Dr. Psycho would be far better. That actually would be a decent
Peter
role.
Dinklage will not play an imp on screen, man.
Unless
You don't think so? I don't know.
He won't do it. Dude.
I will say this: the fact that we're getting a Clayface movie before a Batman or Batman Brave and the Bold does speak wonders to what I've been hearing is that Andy Muschietti is not going to be directing that movie by the time it gets announced.
And that's why we haven't heard any casting. And
by the way, Mike Flanagan, I wouldn't bet against him.
No,
Flanagan's
he's pretty
done
good.
I mean, if you saw his Fall of the House of Usher series, that was bananas.
That was the previous one he did. The Vampires on the Island wasn't to my liking, but I did like the Fall of House of Usher.
Yeah, and the Haunting of Hill House. That and then also his movies. I mean, I think one of the most surprising movies, if anyone's been paying attention to what he's been doing, he adapted a Stephen King story that was a novella in his book If It Bleeds, called The Life of Chuck, and he's directed that, and it debuted at Toronto. I think The Life of Chuck is going to be one of the movies of 2025. If you've read that story, I can't believe somebody took a shot. When you read the story, The Life of Chuck, first of all, you'll read it and go, wait a minute, no one's ever going to adapt this. But to know that it's not only adapted, it's already finished and people loved it. I think it won the audience award at TIFF. And that's what Flanagan's coming off of. And I think it's a Warner Brothers movie, by the way, to throw in that.
It's a scary movie, apparently. Not,
It's Warner Brothers has two. They also have The Long Walk, which Stephen King published in 1979 under his pseudonym Richard Bachman. That was a cult novel when I was in junior high school. And to see that coming out with The Life of Chuck, we have 2 Stephen King adaptations, one brought to us by Flanagan after he'd already done Gerald's Game and Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of stuff that is exciting that we're getting. And I think Superman is one of those things.
How many
The best
people
part
are going
about Clayface is that the budget is only $40 million or around $40 million. I'm so glad they
animated movie.
He's going to give us a great. I think he's going to give
live
us
action, from my understanding.
Yeah,
great. We're doing the Godzilla. Sorry, Chris. I know you want.
Now, how many people are going to flip by right now watching this live stream? And this will be on Mike Zero's channel tomorrow.
This will be a fandom pulse today for
okay, sure. This will be the source of the rumor that we made up. We made up this rumor.
Because more than likely, it'd be Alan Tudyk or Sean Gunn will be playing Mr. Mystics-Pedalic.
Yeah, Alan Tudyk is Clayface.
Jack Black.
Alan Tudyk is Clayface and Dr. Phosphorus. So
so he's in there.
My vote is for Jack Black.
It is a very weird choice, though, to set a whole Clayface movie before you've got a Batman chosen, and we've already seen him in Creature Commandos. Clayface, or we will see him.
If it's the Penguin of Batman villain movies, I'm okay.
Which apparently it might be a genre. If you show how he became that, it is a tragic story, disfigured face, and
You know what? In a very weird way, like Warner Brothers has already won, man, because here we are in 2024 talking positively about a DC project.
Right.
When does that happen? When was the last time that happened? Besides the Penguin, I mean, like we're actually talking
Superman
positive.
Returns. People were really excited and positive for Superman.
No,
Returns.
but we're excited for DC now. Like, I mean, it's been a
It's
while.
because with Marvel, we know what we're getting for at least the next 5 or 6 years, more or less.
It will be interesting at San Diego Comic-Con, which is after the release of Superman.
Robert, you think Fantastic Four is going to surprise us, right?
Will James Gunn be there to do a victory lap, or will James Gunn go to WonderCon maybe to do his Superman presentation? So I don't know. Very interesting stuff. Rob, you were going to say something.
Well, no, Badger's question. Look, Fantastic Four, I want it to be good.
No, they're going to screw it up.
I just don't have the confidence that I have in James Gunn's Superman with Fantastic Four. And I have to say, one of the things about Superman Returns that I think is forgotten is when that film was originally, when they had what's called a friends and family screening, they tested, like Brian doesn't test screen his movies, but they did a friends and family screening. They did 2 of them for Superman Returns. And they decided after those to cut half an hour out of that film. And a lot of that was because the kids didn't understand. It opened with the Return to Krypton sequence. And there was a lot more, like Kal Penn had dialogue. His character had dialogue. And there was a lot more story that fleshed out that version of the film. And I've often, I don't know if it'll ever happen because of Brian's status in the world right now, but I really wish they could have put back the friends and family version of Superman Returns that I saw, because I thought it was superior to what got released. And that was a call that I think Warner Brothers execs made. And Brian, of course, is a businessman. He plays ball with the studio. And I think that was a bad call. They got a little bit of cold feet when the kids are like, what is this? What is this rocky wasteland in space with all these, what is that broken dome? You know, they didn't know. And there was no dialogue in the first 20 minutes of that cut of the movie, because it opens and then you learned a lot about how it was Lex Luthor who ginned up that evidence that showed Krypton might actually still exist. And you find out that's why Superman was obligated to go see for himself, and that's why he had to leave. And there was a lot more in the film. Now, I'm not saying it would have been to everybody's tastes, because the things that people don't like in that movie are still there. But I think it was
like him being a deadbeat dad.
Yeah, but you understood it more, because if there was a chance that his people survived,
right,
he was obligated to go see. And then it was much more. I mean, even the stuff with James Cameron as his mother's boyfriend, Martha's boyfriend, that you see in the deleted scenes.
Oh, Ben Hubbard. He played Ben Hubbard.
Ben Hubbard. I mean, that stuff was wonderful. And that was taken out of the theatrical version of the movie. There was a lot more just stuff that made it a fuller meal. And I wish that we had got that version of the movie.
I'd love
I like
to see
the
that.
product placement, the Kryptonian dog food Calcan. That's why I'm here, folks.
Floating through space.
We've got
Plane scene in the beginning, still the best.
We've got some more news stories I want to go over with you guys. But let's actually read some supers before we go to stories, Alan. It's exhausting for women in Hollywood. I think I want to talk about that. But let's go to some comments here, Badger, if you would help me out.
Your future X for $4.99. It is fitting that DC will live or die with Superman. Here's to hoping that the John Williams tease isn't just a tease. Don't screw with us, Gunn. Yeah.
Right.
Dr. Fauci's rancid prison butt for $5. Ooh, Gunn should keep Superman 2's tone, malicious bone breaking, and Zod's murder. What makes that murder so special is that Zod had no powers. He could break his hand and push him down a chasm. Marcellus for 10. I like Marvel, but I only cared about Spider-Man, Daredevil, and the X-Men. DC is what I grew up with. Paul Dini, yeah, Bruce Timm, Dwayne McDuffie, etc. crafted the DC universe I am used to. Yeah, same.
Yeah, that's great.
Chris B for 5. Poster notwithstanding, if at any point in this movie they tried to talk down to me or proselytize leftists and identity politics, I'm done with DC forever.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't think you're going to see it. I think there's an awareness that is done. The culture has shifted. The tolerance for that is just we're not having it. I think.
Have we seen that in anything that Gunn has done? I don't think he's ever.
Yeah, Creature Commanders. We just saw a bunch of people that were supposed to be us on YouTube.
One at a time, people.
I'm sorry, but Badger, if you're identifying with incels, that's a you problem, not an us problem. Because
thank you, Script. I said he is accusing us of being incels.
No, he's not.
That I identify with them.
No, he's not.
In my opinion, that's what it was. Yes.
Well, then that's your problem because
Okay.
he's not doing it. I mean, listen, I
You know
know
what you're talking
fans
about.
that did not identify with that. They thought it was very funny that there's a bunch of incel guys that are simping for Cersei because that's exactly the opposite of what they've been
I'm
preaching and
glad
calling them
the
hypocrites.
fucking whole thing of a bunch of people like men's rights, the woke activist. What do they think about men not being on? Forget about the fact that the Sons of Themyscira is an actual fucking group, not a bunch of incels that were supposed to be like Proud Boys or something. And now it might have been both sides he was attacking. Why the fuck did he have to attack any side?
I think he was going after Redditors, the crazy 4chan and 8chan
Well, that's
people.
your problem. I don't think that's what he was.
I don't
We
identify
both
with them. I think it's
disagree.
funny to go after those types of people.
Great. I think going forward, he shouldn't attack any modern day thing. He could have just had the actual Sons of Themyscira from the comics that he's adapting. Instead, he chose to do a personal fucking attack, further inciting instead of doing that healing shit we all
I
think
think
that's
you're reaching
magically
for
going to
something
happen.
just because you want to play victim.
And I think you're a fucking contrarian that loves to defend the leftist side because at the end of the
I'm
day,
not
that's what
defending any
you are.
leftist side. I just think that's fine to make fun of 8chaners.
Great. I don't. I think it's a
Because you're
wide
probably an
attack or
8chaner,
not.
right? Is
It
that
was
what you're
still a
saying?
wide attack, and
Is
it
that the
fucking
subtext
makes
here?
people thinking.
You're an 8chaner? Is that what you're saying?
You're just going to try and gaslight everything I
I'm
say.
not gaslighting. You're trying to make James Gunn attacking a whole group of people based on conjecture.
No, I'm pointing out that in the first act of the DCU, he very obviously, much like She-Hulk did with their very obviously veiled attacks, tried to blanket our side as anyone that points out all of this woke shit as simps and other things. Yeah, it was
He's
very
literally making
clearly
fun of
aimed
the
at our
fact that
side.
these guys think that waterfalls should be not exclusive to women. It's like no one's ever said that. That's the joke. I can't help that you don't get that.
I can't help that you're going to defend everything he said, even though I pointed out
I didn't defend
multiple
everything he
examples.
said. I just said,
Dear
that was
God,
funny.
he had Frankenstein's monster in front of him while
I
crying,
didn't see
and then
Frankenstein
spend
jerking off to watching that. I
It
saw him
is a
crying and then getting upset.
level attacking multiple different things.
I don't think you know what a
Stand
cuck
for
is.
him
A
all
cuck
you
likes
want.
to see wife getting banged. Frankenstein did not like that.
Highly compromised because you work in that industry. You may be anonymous, but you still are far more willing to see the best interpretation of things than we are. So maybe
I'd rather look on the positive than look out for something that everything sucks and hated just to drive up, an affirmation
great.
of people that just feel that they're
That's
just
great. You
enfranchised.
started by me
Horrible.
just pointing out that it very clearly could be and has been interpreted as an attack against our side of the internet. And then my fucking stance. I'm glad that you took the best interpretation and didn't think he was talking about our side, but myself and many others do. And my point is, when you're the shepherd and you're supposed to be introducing a supposed to be comic accurate version of the universe for the future, you don't start off by alienating anyone, left or right, whoever he was taking a shot at. And you certainly don't do it by only picking and choose the products that you've been involved in and making everything else non-canon. Ding dong, goodbye, thank you.
I don't think there's any left or right in that accusation. I think when you go on to Redditors and you go into 4chan and 8chan, that's their own thing. I don't think even saying that they should belong to any party side is actually a service to either party side. And I think that's what he was doing there. It feels more genuine to say, hey, there's a bunch of guys that are losers that are going to follow and simp after women. Is there not a society of men that simp after women? Or is OnlyFans just a fictional thing in your mind that you think doesn't really exist?
I tuned out there at the end, dude. I'm done. You
okay? So you just decided not to listen to the point. So that's very.
You weren't making a point, bro. I've answered it plenty of times. He shouldn't have been attacking anyone. He shouldn't have taken any modern audience points. He did. It is what it is. Let's see how the Superman movie is. But let's not call everyone that notices the obvious attacks and just say like we're overacting.
Fans should have a much higher opinion of themselves so that they don't realize that they're always constantly being attacked.
I will say to Badger's credit, man, we've gone through 4 years, more than 4 years of them actually attacking anyone who had the nerve to criticize the shit that they've done. And so on Badger's end, I get that. And I'm watching. I'm skeptical because as much as I trust Gunn as a filmmaker, his politics, like that shit creeps in sometimes. Now, here's the thing. If you're being fair and then you're attacking both sides, great. I love it. Attack the anti-woke and attack the woke, and everyone's happy, right? Because it's fair. It's fair. So I get that. So I agree. But at the same time, script, I get, I want to see the good too. I want to see the good, right? I have high hopes. But that part of me that's skeptical, best believe I'm watching everything he does. Much like I'm watching Trump.
I defend Gunn constantly, by the way, just so you know, fucking script. But I'm also one that's not a dummy and just going to believe that everything is innocent now. And just no. I'm still going to call out what red flags are there.
It's about benefit of the doubt, dude. Like, don't just go in.
He does not have the benefit of the doubt. He does not earn that yet. No one has.
He has definitely earned it with Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker. He has earned the benefit of the doubt, bro.
Incorrect.
Incorrect. It comes down to bro. I love fights like this. This is great.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the supers. We have
Thanksgiving. Yes.
We have a great topic to close out the show, but here we go, right here.
Yeah. Chris B for 5. Poster notwithstanding, that's what started it all. Yeah, we did this one. But yes, done with it.
Sorry about that.
Casparius for 2. Paul, he got his money's worth. Paul, that was Chris, by the way, secretly. Paul Chano, for Mr. McSixelplex. Yes. A little interdimensional. Yes. Matthian, the Cobalt, yes, for 20. Flanagan, rumored for Nightmare on Elm Street.
That could be interesting.
Wow. Yeah. That I'd love to see.
Yeah.
Graph Web for 2. Repent, sinners. Hashtag cancel Disney Plus. Oh, thank you. AA for 100. James Bond or spy in Hogwarts world would be amazing. What do you guys think? Yeah. Spy infiltrating Voldemort or Grindelwald?
That's what Snape is. Double agent.
Yeah. Kind of like that already.
Joe Pat 87 for 499. The true reason there's so much pressure on James Gunn because Warner Brothers is a cursed studio. Always was and possibly always will be.
Well, they do good stuff. They have a massive history.
Yeah, their history is incredible.
Matthian for 20. Stupid blow calling Badger and 8channer.
That's fun.
Warner Brothers was the only studio to embrace DVD versus DivX like all the other studios wanted to do.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say, if they are going to go with a black Snape, I don't want him to be Snape from the book. I want Snape to have a big ass afro. I want him to be the blackest Snape, Snape that they could come up with. Man, I want to have a comb with a fist on the end of it. Like I want him to be black.
If that would be the greatest thing ever.
I am.
There's been many black characters in movies wearing capes. Like that's
got to give him a partner, man.
No, not just a cape. No, you got to give him a cane too. If you're gonna give him a cape, you got to get a cane. I want him to be the blackest Snape that I can.
Full on Rudy Ray Moore. He came right out of the 70s.
That's what I'm talking about.
You want to give him
a rap theme song?
I want him to be Dolomite. That's what I want.
That's right. Rudy Ray Moore all the way.
Real quick,
he is the human tornado.
Real quick in Star Wars related news. The Acolyte toys are already on closeout.
What?
A
No.
video surfaced from I love this channel, World Class Bullshitters.
Yeah.
Love the channel. Let me scroll through. They did a whole video on the fact that here it is. I'm not sharing the audio, but shout out to them. They are already
Is that an Alan Eng lightsaber?
Okay, by the way,
Yeah, that looks more like me
by the
than
way,
the actual character.
By the way, I shop at Ross and Marshall's, and if something made its way there, it's on closeout. It's discounted. There are discounted Acolyte toys. They're half off. They're normally $30.
I've almost bought this
boy,
several
there's a
times,
lot.
but I couldn't
$15.
justify $15.
So these are already on sale, being blown out.
What is
I
that?
have seen this personally. This is in look at this. We've got Reva. There is a box of Revas. Look at this corner.
$10 is too much.
Revas, Ahsokas, all of this. What does this tell you?
They should be paying people to take them.
I know, right? Hey, give them the kids for Christmas, man. Toy drive.
I
The
think that
Acolyte
land
toys-
Merry
video
Christmas.
games is going to get a new neighbor pretty soon.
Can you imagine though,
Acolyte-
if you're some poor
Start
orphan
giving
and
them away.
someone
This
gives you this
is the
shit?
landfill.
I know.
The Acolyte toys are not even fully released, and they're going direct to closeout. I've never seen this.
This is hilarious.
Yeah, I've never seen this.
These are the toys. Just a second. These are the toys that were returned from Gaza.
Jeez.
I mean, is anybody surprised that toys from a franchise that's currently sitting at the bottom of the heap? All right,
Chris, you're
for a
buying these,
canceled-
right?
For a canceled show, for a show that just got canceled. Anybody surprised that the toys ain't selling? I'm not.
Well, what about
surprised
the
if
Acolyte
toys ain't
sequel?
selling. I'd be surprised if they were selling.
Well, you know, when you're a kid, it's really interesting. In the wake when Star Wars first came out and they changed the action figure landscape forever, everyone was jumping on the bandwagon to get the toy franchise for anything that Mego passed on Star Wars because they couldn't get out things in time. That's why we got the early bird set back in the 70s. But you had people making Clash of the Titans toys, Black Hole toys, Star Trek the Motion Picture toys. And the thing is, they just figured corporate thinking that any toy line would sell. That's what they hoped. But what they don't understand is kids have to believe that their toys have an adventure life beyond the movie they've just seen. And with Star Wars, we just saw a few days in the life of these characters. And you knew from the very beginning, Princess Leia was coming from another battle, you know, and then the rebels win a battle, but they still had life before and after the movie we just saw. So you could think up millions of different stories in your own mind when you played with your toys. The Acolyte characters, they don't have any past or future that you're interested in. Why bother? So what's the point of buying these toys? Who's going to play with them? What kind of playability do they have?
Chris
And
and,
they think-
Alan are going to play with them and give me the Acolyte season 2. Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Why are you not buying these? I want the
That's
season
an
2.
original style. That's from the
Stormtrooper
70s.
action figure.
Is that
You
from
have
the
an
70s?
Acolyte one too.
That's from the 70s.
Yeah, because you can tell the color, the discoloration of the white.
And the fact that he won't stand up anymore.
Yeah, because he's been bent over too many times by the people making Star Wars for the last 20 years.
I mean, kids don't even play with toys. Like my kids
No.
didn't play with toys, and you know, I get toys for my nephew now, and he plays for it for like a day, and then he's right to the videos. So
Yeah,
he doesn't.
you know who buys toys? We do. Us
Yeah,
grown
we do.
ass men.
Yeah.
We go to Comic-Con and we buy these figures, right? So
Yep.
And Lucasfilm used to know how to merchandise so well. Like it's amazing how far it's fallen. Like they do not know how to do one of the most commercially viable aspects of this franchise. And they keep messing it up. They don't know what people want to buy when it comes to like produce the thing and then instill in that toys that people would, or you know, that people would like even the Mandalorian. What was his original ship? I forgot. The one that they blew up. They blew up the Razor Crest, and then that after that they tried to sell the toy. I'm like, what?
That was a stupid idea right there, man. That ship was so popular, and then they blew it up. Everybody was like, "What the hell?"
Or they tried to do the helmet thing too.
We are talking about Disney here, man. I mean, Disney acquired one of the biggest properties in the world and has burnt it to the ground.
Yep.
100%. So I don't know. My thought is if you go to a Ross, you can do all your Christmas shopping pretty cheap. So there you go. All right. Another topic here. Alan suggested this one. It's exhausting for women in Hollywood.
I think we need Justine Bateman here for this.
So this is from
It's from Variety.
Don't they mean buy?
Let me see how. Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Thanks, Alan. Thank you very much.
I found the button. Yeah. Florence Pugh says it's exhausting for women in Hollywood. Recall seeing god-awful headlines about how Keira Knightley isn't thin anymore. Florence Pugh recently told the Sunday Times that it's exhausting being a woman in Hollywood. The 28-year-old Oscar nominee has has been a working actor since she was a teenager and can relate to headlines recently by Keira Knightley, who was publicly shamed by the press after Pirates of the Caribbean franchise made her a worldwide star at just 17. There are fine lines women have to stay within. Otherwise, they are called a diva, demanding, problematic. And I don't want to fit into stereotypes made by others. Pugh told the publication, it is really exhausting for a young woman to be in this industry and actually other industries. I remember watching this industry and feeling that I wasn't represented. I remember god-awful headlines about Keira Knightley isn't thin anymore, or watching women get torn apart despite being talented and beautiful. The only thing people want about is some useful crap about how they look, and I didn't care to abide by those rules.
What do you guys think of this?
Well, on the heels of what's happening with Sydney Sweeney right now, I can kind of get what she's saying. Look, but this is just part of the job, man. Part of your job is to be a public figure. You lend yourself to this, right? And best believe men go through this too. Male actors go through this. I mean, look at Orlando Bloom, man. He gets blasted every time he steps foot out the house for the way that he looks now, right?
Yep.
So it's not just the women. I mean, the men go through it too, but obviously the women go through it way more than we do, right? I get what she's trying to say. The problem is that there's just too many of these articles now. What sounds like, I'm not saying it is, but sounds like women complaining about yet another thing.
What motivated this article?
Yeah.
You knew the job was dangerous when you took it, right? That's how I
think it originated from Keira Knightley, getting older and not looking the way she does. She did in the past, and so it's this the image that women have to maintain in order to stay in Hollywood.
But
which is fair. Look, it's fair what she's saying.
And true forever.
But also, we also have more actresses that are moving into their 40s, 50s, and 60s that are still commanding the big screen. Nicole Kidman has a film coming out, totally sexually charged, erotic corporate thriller, where she's quite frankly, apparently really into it. It's called Baby Doll. I think.
Yes, I've seen the movie.
Okay, you've seen it. Now, tell me she's not a sex symbol in that film.
She is.
Hot as F. And it's like this idea that I think that, call it the patriarchy, call it whatever you want. This stuff has changed. You've got Charlotte Rampling. If you've ever seen The Night Porter, she was hot AF back in the 70s, man. And she's still killing it as the Reverend Mother in Dune. I wouldn't kick her out of bed, and she's pushing 80. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think that the insinuation that only women have to adhere to like standards of beauty, or when it comes to their work, like Hugh Jackman is like going to extremes to maintain his physique just to get that one shirtless shot, and Deadpool and Wolverine had to like dehydrate for like 48 hours or something. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy. And everyone was like saying how wonderful like he looks and how great he looks, and he is still having to maintain that, even though I think he looks great in the first X-Men. I think that's fine too, but those do exist for male actors as well, and probably more so with like superhero movies and things. There's even more so that expectation. So I think it's even more so exhausting for men at times too. It's just,
I think it is true that men can ease through their different epochs easier than women can.
True.
Yeah, look at Russell Crowe. I mean, he's gone older. He's gone older.
Russell Crowe, by the way, there were a lot of cameos in Kraven the Hunter. Did anyone catch Russell Crowe was the Blob?
Yeah.
A mutant. No, that was a joke. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, also I think that that story is kind of like they caught her in a candid moment. I mean, I hear her point. You know, but you're right, Elaine. Like there are standards for, I mean, you know, I don't think that Hugh Jackman was eating a lot of pizza on the set of Deadpool and Wolverine. You know, he stuck to his diet, along with Ryan Reynolds as well.
I think she might be referring to even Oppenheimer, because she looked like a real woman in it as opposed to a model. She didn't have a model body in
She's
it.
never had a model body, but she's got a model's face. Like that's the thing that really sells more so.
But I did
Oh my
hear
God,
people
she's so
complain.
sexy.
I did hear people like assholes complain about the fact that, wow, she just looks like a regular woman. And people have this expectation of just how hot a woman.
What does that even mean? No, she looks like a regular woman. It's like all women look like regular women for the most part.
Not Ariana Grande or
you know what I mean. You know,
but
I'm sure there are weird, like the minority that have, you know, they have an idiotic take, I guess, but I don't see the majority of, even in the media, of any like backlash. I don't remember anything with Keira Knightley's figure. I don't know what she's even referring to in this, but I feel like that's just probably one random article, and you kind of gotta ignore that because the vast majority of people, I don't think, have an issue with Keira Knightley or Florence Pugh's physical
Definitely never
assets.
heard anyone say Keira Knightley was fucking fat or anything like that. Yeah,
But if you look at what's going on right now with Sydney Sweeney, you know, in those pictures,
that's
that came out,
retarded.
it's like it's you do have a lot of idiots who are like, who I guess have
And
never seen a
some
real
of them
woman,
women too.
you know,
Women
quote
are giving
unquote, you know,
Sydney
like they've
Sweeney a
never
hard
seen
time.
like a woman's natural body. You know, it's like, yeah, guess what? Anyone could take a bad picture. Anyone
Those
could
weren't
have
bad picture. I thought people were like, look how good she looks without makeup, and like, look at the
That's
muscle
what I
she put
thought.
on for the boxing. And then I saw the story. It's like, oh, people are saying this looks bad. This is what a chick without
it's
makeup
crazy,
looks
right?
like.
It's like,
Yeah.
guess
Oh,
what? If
it's
you're
insane.
bending over a little bit, sometimes it's not going to be flattering, right? In the frontal area, like that, it's just part of being human. But
I think with these actresses, they got to figure out like, okay, look, everybody's going to have something to say, you know. I think Sydney Sweeney had the perfect response. I had put up a video about that. She had the perfect response for all this nonsense, because she just said, hey, look, I'm an actress. This is what I'm doing. And she posted like an entire video of all the comments people were making about her, and she just laughed it off. And I think that's what all of these cats need to do. You're millionaires. You're making a ton of money. You're in the public eye. Everybody knows your name, and you're going to get some feedback from some people that is, you know, probably less than respectable. But at the end of the day, look, this is the job. You know the job. We all got bullshit on our jobs that we got to deal with. And this is just part of her job that she has to deal with. So I feel like at some point in time, just like, look, ignore the nonsense. All right. Don't come out and cry about it or whatever. I'm starting to have more respect for the actresses that just, like, I always talk about Jenna Ortega. That's just nose to the grindstone, getting the work done. People are going to make their comments on social media and whatever. It's like, yeah, whatever. Okay. I'm about this work. And I appreciate that more and more, because there's so many actresses and actors as well that are just coming out whining and complaining. It's like, enough, man. That's the job.
Again, I don't understand this, because these comments and situations have been around for as long as tabloids have been around. The most popular edition of the Globe and Enquirer especially are those long photo shots where they show David Hasselhoff in the surf on some beach in Hawaii with his gut hanging out, right? And then they show, you know, 3 women who are still really, really good and still in good shape. And the 3 women, they show 5 women who are hot and 5 women who are not. And they do that every single month. I mean, it's been around forever.
Also, we're seeing things like, I'm a huge Kate Winslet fan. I've always thought she was incredibly beautiful. I was always had a thing for her since I first saw her in Heavenly Creatures. If you watch what she did in Mare of Easttown, she looks like a real woman. She wasn't wearing makeup, and she has a sex scene in there, and it was the most naturalistic. It was really hot, even though a lot of people would say, wow, she's letting it all hang out. But that's why it was hot, because she was, in terms of authenticity, verisimilitude, Kate Winslet to me is she's my overlord of what I love about modern day stardom. She's outspoken, she's unbelievably beautiful, and she's nothing if not authentic. And that Mare of Easttown performance was an all-timer. and she's leading the charge. And yet you still get these articles like this when you have people like Kate Winslet setting the tone. All power to her, and Nicole Kidman for that matter. Even though she has work done, she's still out there fighting the good fight every single day. So are people like Reese Witherspoon, you know, that whole group of women that can now get anything made at whatever series they want, because they'll not only produce it, but they'll be in it. They are wielding power like the bosses they are. And I think we're seeing definitely a shift brought about by people like Shonda Rhimes. I mean, but we're seeing actresses that are acting their age, not trying to be 20 years younger. They're not Norma Desmonding it all now. It's a pretty amazing time to watch what some women, some of these powerful actresses are doing in Hollywood. We've never seen it before.
But I think the other thing we have to be careful about too is, you know, we have to remember these actors are, you know, for the most part, they're getting asked questions by reporters, and
Right.
and they're kind of they're trying to be honest in their answers, and what the reporter would do obviously is take the juiciest line and print that first, right? So
Yeah, true.
it'll sound like they're complaining when the reporter asked them that question like 30 minutes down the line.
Is this the gayest movie ever? Like that type of shit.
Exactly. Exactly. They've already answered a bunch of questions, and then they'll throw something like that in, and they answer, you know?
Yeah, you made a good point.
Let's pivot for a second for our last news story of the day. There is a upcoming Harry Potter series on Max. Each season will, of course, cover the contents of one book, and the casting rumors are insane. We expect that it'll be a modern take on Harry Potter, even though the story takes place in the 90s. This is from Paul Tassi, wrote this story in Forbes.
Ugh.
Yeah. But the rumors are crazy and only going to get worse. And now it's they're saying that Snape, Papa Essiedu, has been offered the role of Severus Snape. He looked exactly like Snape as described in the book.
Sallow and yellow skin.
I would say by exactly, I mean
hair,
not at all.
pale, long, greasy hair. Yes, 100%.
I'm telling you, man, give that man an afro, and I'm in.
And
Can't
Jerry
wait to see the
curl,
scene
Jerry curl.
where-
Or Jerry curl.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh God.
Harry
God,
Potter
yeah.
hanging him upside down, or sorry, his father hanging him upside down by the tree. That's going to be a great scene depicted. Yeah, there's a lot of
And there
calling
needs to
people
be one
mudbloods.
scene. There needs to be one scene of him spraying activator in his hair while he's teaching. Man, give me that. Give me that Snape.
Whatever. What do we think about this? Are we
Jerry Curlis.
How far will they deviate from the books and the recent movies?
The whole point of this is to have 10 years of accurate book. And that means every character looking and doing all the scenes they couldn't do. You couldn't do in the theaters. If they change it, if you change Snape for it, it's going to be just like Superman failing. It's over.
Someone put in the comments Wesley Snipes.
It's gonna be it's gonna be nothing but jokes. Some of the jokes that you have seen coming out about this, you know, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Hennessy and stuff like that. You're gonna see those kind of jokes coming out over and over and over again. It's gonna completely destroy the show. So
And there's
if they're
already black
smart-
characters.
Yeah.
You don't need to
There's
search.
already diversity in
there
it.
are very prominent black characters in Harry Potter already. You got Kingsley Shacklebolt, you got Angelina Jolie, you got Lee Jordan, you got
Dean Thomas.
Dean
Yep.
Thomas.
right there. You don't have to race swap. You don't have to do anything. I said, if you want to race swap, if it's that important, find the most inconsequential characters. But the teachers have to stay the way they were depicted in the books. All right. That's McGonagall. That's Snape, especially those two. And then Dumbledore. And then you got to make sure you cast 3 little white kids to play Harry, Ron, and Hermione. You do that, I think most fans will kind of forgive a lot of the other stuff. But if you go crazy with the race swaps and you try to insert, you know, any kind of messaging, you're just going to destroy this entire thing.
But don't
before
you
even get
think
off the
that
ground.
this is a chess game? They're going, I'll give you a black Snape if we can keep the 3 main
Probably.
It is,
white.
but he needs to be included. That you can't. They're too central. They're too central.
Yeah.
And really, for story elements, if you do it, you can't have Hermione be black because she literally organizes a slave rebellion for the house elves. You can't have Ron be black because his family's all poor generational. You know what I'm saying? There's all these little things that if you do modern things, it changes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
but still, my point is, we're giving you Snape. We get to keep the 3 white kids.
No,
Well,
it would be
look,
like we need
they
Snape.
couldn't make
kids.
Hermione black at all, man. Not when people call her a mudblood, man.
Yes.
Like I'm telling you, this is all
Exactly.
problematic. I'm telling you what, they're lucky I'm not writing this because I would go balls to the walls. I would
You're
just
race
like
swapping everybody.
Well, I'll wait till this is confirmed, but because I don't even know. I wonder if this is just leaked to just gauge audience
I hope
reaction.
so.
I don't even know why this was even put out there if it wasn't if he wasn't in active negotiations. I don't know why this was revealed except just to try to stir up controversy needlessly, which is of course what the media would do. But also,
according to the,
he's
just
too young
according
and
to the original
unattractive.
article,
Apart
the-
from
yeah.
the
I'm
obvious.
sorry, I'm just clarifying. The original article says no actor has been officially cast in the series yet.
Right.
This is all grain of salt, I think.
Yeah,
personally,
but I don't appreciate them just releasing this. Oh, this could be a thing. Like, unless you know for sure, and it just seems like pointless media trying to drum up just I don't know fan controversy and drama that they could later point to and use against fans. I really don't appreciate it. I just give us the facts. I'll wait till I'll reserve judgment until I know for sure.
how much
I
involvement.
think they were trying to throw it out there to see how people would react. The reaction, I hope they've been paying attention to that reaction because the reaction has been all negative. All negative. This is the
Has it been negative?
This is
Yes.
it has been 100% negative. There's been nothing good coming out of this particular casting. There's been other casting rumors. This particular casting has blown up.
And JK is supposed to
nobody's
be
happy about it.
intimately involved.
Yeah, I was going to
They
ask, like,
said that this
how
could be
involved is J.K. Rowling in the
Intimately,
show?
which so the reasoning would be, even though she gave permission for Hermione to be black in the stage play, that excuse is always it's a stage play, just like people performing Shakespeare. You're going to have some slight changes. For
Which
this,
is fair.
she's always said it's supposed to. It's fair. I give her that. She's supposed. She said it's supposed to be as accurate as they can do. So come on, accurate.
I mean,
Yeah,
you know
they-
what?
they-
This could
they-
all be just like a red herring. I mean, they're probably not going to
It
do
could
this.
be. Yeah, I really honestly don't think they're gonna do it, but I think that they did throw this out there. Somebody wanted to see what the reaction would be. So maybe somebody just said, hey, we're thinking about this guy, Snape. What do you think that reaction is gonna be? We've been talking to his people, and this thing just blew up to Kingdom Come. So I don't think this is gonna happen, but if it does, they've destroyed it before it even gets started. Because all of these characters, they have been described, specifically Snape, very clearly in the books. And so if you do this is nothing but pandering for no damn reason, which I hate. I hate race swaps probably more than anybody else in this entire panel. I cannot stand race swaps. It is so demoralizing
I agree.
to black people when they say, oh, we're just going to throw this character at you instead of actually creating a character. Or like I said, if you wanted to do something with African wizards or black wizards, create that. Create that whole cloth and actually do representation the right way instead of race swapping, which is cheap and lazy. I can't
It's secondhand.
And ultimately, if I could end the conversation on this, ultimately it hurts the indigenous people of England, white people.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I heard the rumor is Hagrid is going to be played by Shaq.
Oh God!
He's tall.
Oh, God. Let's go to our comments here as we wrap up.
Geek Truth for 64. Remember, for 19 months, I saw a bootleg Acolyte DVD in the wild today. Why? Thomas Pickett for 5. I just watched Star Wars XXX. I believe it is exhausting for women in Hollywood. I would need a bag of ice. Yes. JTP RX member for 27 months. RMB talking about getting blasted in a cockpit and loving 80s. Yo, women, you go, bro.
Hey, I think they're called gilfs. Gilfs is what they call them.
I'm just saying when I want to be 80, I want to be able to still get busy, and you got to be ready for that.
Hey, they got pills for that now.
I know. I don't need them. Not yet.
Jason Cook for 10. Plenty of fire in that oven over there. Jason Cook for 10. Where are all the stories about Brendan Fraser? Yeah, he got body shamed to high heaven after the Mummy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Red French Moon for 2. It was also mostly women tabloids doing it. Yeah,
Exactly.
tabloids. Matthian for 20. I need Voldemort in a wheelchair. Yeah, well, he is in a wheelchair for the beginning when
Does
he's all that tiny.
Quirrell not count?
James for 10. Yes, give them Snape, please. I can't wait to see the reactions to a black Snape being picked on by James Potter and simping after a white woman who cucks him. Yes, James. Exactly. Very problematic things when you change it like that.
Mudblood will take on a whole new.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
gonna
it
be
will.
wild.
So what would a black wizard's Patronus
Patronus?
like a car, like a low rider or something?
The only way I would be okay with this, man, if it was like a, like if they did like the Wiz, but with Harry Potter. You know what I mean? Just make
race swap everybody.
Throw in some
Everybody.
jazzy, like musical numbers, then I'm in.
The Wiz is great. It's its own thing. I loved it. When I was a kid, I saw it in the theater. Michael
Me too.
Jackson,
I loved it.
Diana Ross.
And I'm just saying, Kingsley Shacklebolt is a stone cold pimp. All right. So just give him more scenes. All right.
All
there
right.
you go.
We're going to wrap up here, but I want to remind people, Lord Thoth, thanks to Lord Thoth, Chicago Box, Atomic Lori, Glenn Nucci, our producer. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, sign up as a member, join us on X, Discord, Rumble, and Instagram. Buy our merch at shop.filmthreat.com. And everyone plug your channel. And Dante, special plug for Dante. He is trying to get to 5,000.
I'm 60 away. I'm only 60 subs away. So
there are almost 3,000 people watching live right now. Go to Verbal.
I'm only 60 away. Verbal Riot, YouTube, Rumble X, but on YouTube specifically. And yeah, sometimes I say funny things and make interesting videos. So
please sub to Dante's channel. So he gets to 5,000. Okay.
Hello. Yeah, you can find me here on YouTube at Nerd Cookies. I'm going to be covering some more Dune Messiah rumors, so look out for that, as well as some more Dune prophecy lore theories. So if you're interested in that, check it out on my second channel, Nerd Cookies Rants. And you can find me on Twitter as well at Nerd Cookies. It was great chat as always.
Derek Anderson, the DA. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing and hanging out. Appreciate that. I am going to still cover the Skeleton Crew, even though I don't think anybody's really watching it, but I'm still covering it. So checking me out. I'll be doing that live tomorrow, right after that show airs. And of course, regular videos throughout the week. You guys know what's up. So there it is. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Paul Chatto here. Call me Chatto. Just watch my channel. That's all I have to say.
I'm Robert Burnett, and Friday I'm out on a limb creatively. My audio drama, True Noir, The Assassination of Anton Cermak, drops. You can get it at truenoir.co, not com, but just co, truenoir.co. And yeah, everything I have, I put into it. So if you hate it, come after me. But if you love it, come after me too.
Badgercast, 30 minutes. I put the chat in the private, or the link in the private chat if you can. And I'm 26 subs away from 8,000. Just saying, if we're throwing around subs. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. See you in 30 minutes. Badgercast.
Yeah. Tonight, Chris and I will be doing an out of the theater review of reaction to Mufasa. So hang out.
Hey, so this Saturday, Scripts on Saturdays on my channel, scriptdoctor.com, where I'm going to be talking about Arthur Miller and Elia Kazan's little feud that happened after Death of a Salesman. Someone wrote a screenplay on it, and we're going to review it this weekend.
Love that. So we will be back next week with our final episode of Versus for the year. We're not going to do a Versus. We are going to do a Versus with just Alan and I between Christmas and New Year's.
Are you going to fight like Godzilla?
Yes.
King Kong?
Yeah, we're definitely doing it. We will do that, and next week we will do our wrap up of the year with, hopefully all of you can make it back, our wrap up, the best and worst of the year. We will discuss, and as Alan said, there you go, Paul. Alan said we're seeing Mufasa. I could not care less. I'm only going because Alan will be there.
It's the prequel no one wanted.
No one asked for it. So see you Wednesday. Friday. Alan.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.